It's party time, my golf story, brought to you by Party Drinks. Classically designed golf drinks for golfers by golfers. And the golf real estate pros, Gene Walsh and Vince Visicaro. For your Southwest Florida real estate needs, check them out at suncoastdreams.com. Now here's your host, Kevin Walsh.
Hey, what's going on? Kevin Walsh here. This is our 6th edition of Party Time, chasing it on the West Florida Golf Tour. Do me a favor before you get even into the depth of the conversation we're going to have later today. Like and subscribe us on YouTube. We're available on all major viewing and listening platforms, but YouTube is the big one. Like and subscribe, because ultimately the bean counters, the account people, the analytics geniuses, they like that stuff, and ultimately we could get paid for it in the end. Big thanks to our title sponsors, Party Drinks. If you're looking for an alternative to the tired, hard seltzers, we all know what they are. If you're looking for something new, something smooth, something that sings to you as a golfer, for golfers, by golfers, that is exactly what Party is. And if you have real estate needs, if your dream is to live in a golf course community that is kind of resort oriented, or if you currently live on a golf course and you're looking to sell your home, nobody better to help you out with your real estate needs than the Golf Dream Team of Vince Visicaro and Gene Walsh, your top producing golf course and luxury property realtor team with fine properties in Southwest Florida. You can get a hold of them at suncoastdreams.com, or you can call 941-220-4000. So that's the housekeeping thing. We got a great guest for you today, and she's a pioneer. And that's a hint, because up until this point, all of our guests have been men associated with the West Florida Golf Tour. Our first female guest is coming on, Sophia Warren. You're going to love Sophia, her passion for the game, her passion for life, and just like her ticket in to the game of golf is absolutely outstanding. So, Sophia, let's bring you on the program here. How's everything going? I am so glad that you're with us, because when I first met you, how long have you been an assistant pro at Lakewood National?
I've been working for Lakewood National about a year and a half now, I would say.
Yeah.
Guesstimating.
Okay. Yeah. So I remember when you came on board, and you just have a nice, warm presence in the golf shop. And I know that's part of the job, but I think that's a big part of who you are. You just have a zest for life, it seems. Where does it come from? Help me out.
Oh, honestly, I would say a lot of it comes from my parents. They're very happy, positive people. And growing up, I was homeschooled my whole life until I got to college, and so was my brother. So I spent probably like an inordinate amount of time with my parents because they were my teachers as well as my parents. And they always taught me to look on the bright side. There's a solution for everything. And people will remember how you made them feel more than they'll remember what you said to them. So that's just kind of something I've always taken to heart, and kind of try to like make everybody's day a little bit better when I see them, which is really good, because that's kind of my job now, aside from playing pro golf.
Well, let's get into the pro golf and the entry into it, because your story is quite a bit unusual. You want to get into the puppy love story? Like, how did this all unfold?
Yes. So you'll see, I'm like blushing. I have never told this story like on a podcast or anything before. But basically, growing up, I played every other sport imaginable, did like acting classes, dance classes, anything you could put your kid in, I was in, basically. And around the age of 13, my brother and I had been playing soccer for a couple of years. We were both a little sick of it and ready to try something new. So my mom was researching like different sports clubs, teams in the area, which can be hard when you're homeschooled because you can't just play school sports most of the time. And she came across the First Tee, which everyone knows the First Tee organization. They do weekly classes, teach kids life values, all that stuff. And there was a homeschool chapter, a homeschool section of the classes in the area. And my mom's like, oh my God, perfect. Let's try this. So we sign up. We get there the first day. I was not super keen on golf right away. Leading up to the class, I was kind of more like, I don't know, but we'll try it, whatever. We get there. I was like not feeling it. We were late. The course was kind of crappy. It was just a bunch of old people. And then we get to the group that we're supposed to be in. And there's this super tall, super cute boy. And I was like like the like hallelujah background. I was like, I love golf. So I went to that class for probably like 2 months, hating golf, like never practicing outside of golf except for this class, just to see this cute guy. And it turns out we actually have stayed friends over the years. We're still friends to this day. I never told him he's the reason I play golf. He never needs to know as far as I'm concerned. If he hears this, oh well, he probably already knew all along because I'm not a good secret keeper. I was not subtle at 13, that's for sure. But yeah, so it just kind of spiraled from there. I kept going to golf classes and eventually was like, you know what, this is kind of fun doing these little contests, like putting contests and stuff. And then around springtime, so that was in November, spring rolls around and they are starting a middle school golf team that like anyone can play in, even if you don't go to the local middle school. Tried out for that, made the team. And that was really where I had I want to do this. This is what I want to do. We were practicing at Lakewood Ranch Golf and Country Club, which if you don't know, aside from Lakewood National, that's like the nicest country club around. And to be 13, 14 out there practicing, having no business being out there at sunset and just seeing like, this could be like where I spend my days. Like this could be how like after school is. I was like, yeah, sign me up. I love it.
When did you know when did you start getting good? When did you know, hey, I might have something here?
I got good very late because I didn't start till I was 13. I started a little bit behind most of the kids I was competing against throughout high school. They had been playing since they were like 4, 5, 6, 7, basically since they could walk. So I always felt like a little bit of a late bloomer in that aspect. I had a really good season my junior year of high school, which got me looked at a little bit by colleges. I didn't have a ton of offers. And I ended up playing my first 2 years of college at Seminole State College, which if you don't know is a junior college. So you're only there for 2 years and then you transfer. It's big in athletes, especially with baseball, because they have different regulations in terms of like getting drafted out of there versus getting drafted out of a 4-year school. So a lot of good baseball players go the JUCO route. But Seminole State is the #1 women's golf team in the country. They're amazing. They've been ranked #1 probably the last 6 years, I think. Starting with my freshman year, we won the national championships as a freshman, and I played really, really well leading up to the national championships. At regionals, my coach had told me it was basically how I played at regionals would be if I made the team for the national team. So I felt probably more pressure than I'd ever felt in my whole life. Which looking back now that I'm a pro, obviously there's a ton of pressure playing for your livelihood, but this was it, like the national championships. I couldn't not be on that team. And I played really well the last day of regionals. And my coach called me personally and told me that she was so impressed and I made the team. We get to nationals. I play very well, individually as well as the team playing really well. I finished 4th in the nation. We won the national title, and driving home from our celebratory dinner, driving back to my apartment at school, I remember thinking like, it's like silent in the car and I'm just driving. And I was like, I could do this. Like I just did this on the biggest stage I've ever been presented and I did it. So I could do it again. Like if you can do it once, you can do it again. And it was just such a really cool, almost calming feeling because I knew it was something that I wanted to do, but that was the first time I knew it was something that I could do or
it was the validation. It's like maybe the dream was percolating and this is validation that I should chase it and do it. And at that point you're all in, but junior college is only 2 years. What comes next?
So after nationals, throughout the summer, I talked to a few coaches because that's when you start talking. You only have a year left. You got to commit somewhere. But my goal was to always play for Florida Gulf Coast University. That was kind of a dream school of mine. I wanted to stay close enough to my family to go home for weekends or holidays or whatnot. Definitely wanted to stay somewhere warm. And they play amazing courses down there in Fort Myers, Naples. All the course. You don't have a bad course down there. It's awesome. So I got in contact with them actually like the day after nationals. They were watching my scores and they got in contact with me, asked me on a visit. I think I went on 2 official visits, loved the campus and everything. And I committed before even starting my sophomore year. They gave me an offer I couldn't refuse and the rest is history. And I was really happy to have that security going into sophomore year, to have a year of like, I can just play and not know that 50 coaches are watching me. And if I play bad, only 20 are going to watch me next week.
Right. You have a bird in hand, and you're willing to go with that. Let me back it up a little bit before college. Maybe some milestones. I always ask everybody, do you remember the first time you broke 80?
I remember the first time I broke 100. I shot 92, and I still to this day think I counted the score wrong. Like, I don't know how I did that. Breaking 80 for the first time, I actually don't remember that. I remember my first hole-in-one came in high school. I was 17. Unfortunately, that's my only hole-in-one still, but I've got one. And I was out practicing with my brother and one of his friends, and they tried to get me to pay them to be my witnesses for my hole-in-one because they knew it wasn't official at the club if they weren't there. So they tried to bribe me, but eventually I bribed them with driving them places. So they were my witnesses.
That's a fair trade.
It was more than fair trade for sure.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to remember breaking 70 the first time. I think I shot 68 the first time I broke 70.
Oh, so that's breaking it pretty good. Do you remember where you were and the events of the day and how you were feeling?
That was in college, my sophomore year, actually. I had broken par for 9 holes before, but never for 18. And then I ended up, it was in qualifying. So, in college, you play the qualifying rounds to see who makes the travel team. And it was like our last day of qualifying. And I got paired with this girl who I wasn't a huge fan of. And it was just the two of us out there. And I was like, not having I don't think it was the best day, or I had the best attitude going into it. I was kind of like, oh, great, here we go. I ended up birdieing the first 2 holes, parred the next 14. Then I birdied 17 and I chipped in on 18 for birdie.
Oh.
And I was kind of like, oh, I'll take it.
That's closing the deal. So you have a nice run at Florida Gulf Coast, and for a lot of people when they graduate college, I think part of it's a relief. It's like, all right, get me out of here. This is taking me as far as it can go. But it's also
it was for me for sure. At Florida Gulf Coast, I will say I did not enjoy my time there as much as I did at Seminole State. The team was very political when I was there. They have a new coach now, and he's awesome. I've spoken to him. He's great. I wish he was my coach back then. But there was a lot of drama on the team when I was there, behind the scenes drama that you don't really think about when you think of college golf because it's such a small team. But the fact that it is a small team, it gives people a chance to butt heads more. And it became a lot more not golf oriented when I was there. It was more political, who's playing with who, or who's coach going to pick for the team. Not as much qualifying based on score. So when I graduated, I felt this huge weight off my chest and off my shoulders to be like, oh my God, my golf can just be golf again. Doesn't have to be golf and how you spoke to them, or if you spoke to them today, or what they thought of you, all that stuff that comes along with girl drama.
Well, you said it. I was just about to ask, is that girl drama? Because I've talked to other female competitors, and they said, you guys have it easy. You just go and you compete, and it's just, your golf game does all the talking. There's not extra stuff. So there's more. Yeah, I
would say it's more with the ladies. I have not experienced that in the professional world at all. All the girls I've met have been nothing but nice and supportive. I've made some amazing friends my first year on tour. And it's honestly so much better than college golf. But I will say I had friends on the men's team at FGCU, and they would say oh, they're not really a big fan of this player or that player. And then they'd end up getting paired with them for the day to play in their qualifier. And I'd be like, oh gosh, is that okay? How are you guys going to handle that? And the boys would look at me and be like, we're going to play golf? What are you talking about? Just because I don't like him doesn't mean that gets brought into the course. And I was like, excuse me? I would love that. Can I play for your team instead? So I do think it's more girls. Girls are just naturally competitive with each other, I think, or a lot of girls are.
I understand. I have daughters. I think I get it. I know other female competitors, and they share similar stories. So it's a thing. It's definitely
a thing, but not in the pro world. In the pro world, we're very good at looking at we're all trying to make it. So if you make it before me, that doesn't make me bad. It just means congratulations, you made it. Because it could be next week, and I want all those girls happy for me just as I'm happy for them. We're all chasing the same thing. So it's more we're a team chasing it together, which I think is awesome.
Yeah, it's a rising tide. Everybody can help everybody. Unless it's okay, I need to make this putt. It may break your heart, but I have to do it because that's the competitive side. Which tour are you playing on? Tell me about the road to the end goal is the LPGA Tour, right?
Yes. Yep. We're on the way to the LPGA. We're not quite there yet. So I play on the Women's All Pro Tour, which is more in the middle of the country. It's Texas, Louisiana, Arkansas, like over there. So a lot of flying is involved in my season. And then at the end of the summer, I'll be going to LPGA Q School Stage 1. I went to Stage 1 this past year, played well, and had a chance to get to Stage 2 going into the last day and didn't quite get it done, which was absolutely heartbreaking, but also really encouraging that I put myself in that position my first time out, because a lot of people say the first time is the hardest time. You don't know the course. You're playing with more pressure than you've ever had in your life. And I felt like I handled it really well, especially not playing my best leading into the week. I definitely got it together. And I just had a great time. So I'm doing that in August, and I'll be playing Monday qualifiers for LPGA Tour events. And then the way the WAPT, the Women's All Pro Tour, works, if you finish top 2 in any of their events, you get an exemption into the next week's Epson Tour event. So you can play your way onto the Epson Tour through that as well.
Mm-hmm. How do you fund it all? Everybody has a story. It's expensive. The prize money is not that much. Tell me about it.
Yeah, there has only been 1 week so far where I've actually come out in a positive profit for the week, in terms of all my expenses being less than I made playing golf. But it's 1 week, it counts. I did it once, I can do it again. So I fund it. I split everything 50-50 with my parents. I'm very lucky to have parents that support my dream, because it is kind of an out there crazy dream compared to some kids who want to be, doctors and lawyers and whatnot. So they fund half of it and I pay the other half. That's why I work at Lakewood National part-time. You'll see me answering the phones and chit-chatting with you and other members. That's how I fund my portion of the dream. But yeah, it does get expensive. A lot of weeks are lost weeks, which I try to look at as I'm spending the money to get the experience and to learn how I would handle myself under pressure, which you can try to replicate when you're practicing, but you can't fully do it until you're actually competing in a tournament.
Mm-hmm. This is Sophia Warren. She is our guest, our first female guest on Chasing It, or Part T Time. Chasing It on the West Florida Golf Tour, an assistant golf professional at Lakewood National Golf Club. But the big dream is to make it to the LPGA Tour and to be a major champion. Big thanks to Part T Drinks. It is the title sponsor of this podcast. For a list of the different places where Part T is available, log on to the internet at drinkparty.com. And for all your real estate needs, there's no better real estate team than Vince Vizzacaro and Gene Walsh. Check them out at suncoastdreams.com or call 941-220-4000. So how do you balance your time, Sophia? Because I know you're working in the shop, you're traveling. I think I see you in my backyard sometimes zipping along on the third hole trying to get golf in. How do you make it all work?
So that's one thing that college golf taught me well, is a lot of time management. But now instead of managing classes, I'm managing work. But on days that I work, I get up. I normally work 9 to 5 right now with the time change. So I get up and I'm at the course by sunrise, which is around 7, practice until 9, work 9 to 5, come home, have dinner, and then I go to the gym afterwards. On days that I'm not working, I will get up, go to the course and practice for a few hours. Then I'll play 18 holes. And then if I have time, I can practice afterwards as well. And whatever wasn't working on the course that day, go home, have dinner, go to the gym, rinse, repeat. Which sounds like I live the same day over and over, but it's really not. I do have time if I need to go run errands, or my mom and I go get our nails done. I can squeeze that into my schedule. I found that around 6 to 7 hours a day of practice on my off days from work are good. And then as much as I can on the days that I work. Sometimes I'll be able to practice that last half hour before the sun sets after work too. I'll go putt and chip or something. I
think I've seen you when the sun's going down. There's not much time left in the day.
Yep, that's normally me.
There goes the car. Yeah, you got to get it when you can. Who's been the biggest influence? Sure. Who's the biggest influence in your life with golf?
Oh gosh, that's a really good question. I feel like I've had quite a few over the years. Probably the most consistent would be my swing coach, Tim Schrady. I've been working with him since I was 14. I went to his high school golf academy when I was in high school, which we practiced every day. And he really drilled into us the value of hard work. but also the value of being a good person on and off the course, and how you carry yourself and how you handle yourself is what people will remember a lot, especially on the days when you don't have it and the breaks aren't going your way. So I would definitely credit a lot of my golf knowledge of the swing and knowledge of how to handle yourself to him. And then I would say, honestly, recently, my friend group, I've made this great group of friends over the summer. We play golf together pretty much every single day. There's some group of us goes out and plays. It's a group of about probably like 7 or 8 of us, and we'll like find different times to play and stuff. And it's all boys. I'm the only girl, and they've really made like playing golf fun. And since then, we've added some more girls into our friend group as well. Girls that work at Liquid National. They now have started to play, and they're like, oh, Sophia, you inspire me, which like honestly is like the best compliment I could ever get. But seeing how much fun they all have playing golf, and they're great players, professionals, college golfers, all this. But having fun and playing is something that I was not doing for most of my golf career. And I feel like this year I really figured out how to have fun on the golf course. And that's probably been like the biggest game changer this year.
I think you're getting at something. I want to drill down a little bit deeper. Putting the fun back in it when it's your job and when you struggle. Did your self-esteem, did it ever get wrapped up in that, where when you're struggling, you just don't feel real good about yourself as a person? You're just not happy off the course because you're miserable on the course?
In high school, a ton. My day or my mood was dictated about how I played. And that definitely was how it was in college a little bit. But I feel like as I've gotten older, I've kind of done a good job of separating that a bit more. Maybe because now it is my job, I'm able to say, this is what I do. This is not who I am. I am a professional golfer, but I am also a sister and a daughter and a friend and a coworker. I'm able to have all these other titles as well. But honestly, I think I've just learned to be nicer to myself overall. I'm naturally very competitive and very hard on myself. So if things aren't going my way, I tend to blame myself before I'll blame anyone else or anything else. I don't make excuses. If I tell you there's a reason something happened, that is the reason. I'm not making excuses. I found every way to blame myself first. So I've just learned to be nicer to Sophia, because I know that playing well is going to come from a state of peace. So if I'm at peace, I'm giving myself the best chance to play well. And out there, everybody is stressed to some degree, because you're playing for your livelihood. So if I can give myself the advantage of being at peace, I'm already mentally beating probably a third or more of the girls out there.
That is so true, because we all have voices in our head. That doesn't mean we're weird. We have demons when we're standing over. You have to find the quiet. You know what I mean? And that's, I think, when people struggle. And I know for me, when I competed, like if your life wasn't in order off the golf course, this whole thing is like, no, you get between the lines and you block all. Oh, no, you don't. It didn't work for me. But I'm with you. Find a piece, and then that translates into something good.
Yeah,
I've had some guys, namely, well, I'll tell you the story. Kyle Rhodes, who was our second guest on the podcast. I mean, talk about a guy that makes himself vulnerable. He was telling stories about being in the car, missing cuts, crying, asking, "What am I doing with my life?" Have you been there?
Yes, I actually almost quit golf completely this year. I think it was either the end of March, the beginning of April. It was the first event of the Women's All Pro Tour season. I had never played on the Women's All Pro Tour before. I was just about making my pro debut because I turned pro after college, but there were no events to play in the fall. I didn't go to Q school the first year. I was in a really bad place mentally coming out of FGCU, and I wanted to give myself a year to get ready. So I played the first event. This is in March, April. And I shot 88. I think I hit like 3 or 4 balls out of bounds or more in hazards and whatnot. Missed every putt. Shot 88, probably the highest score I've shot since I was 15. It came out of nowhere. And they have the 88 rule on the Women's All Pro Tour. If you shoot 88 or higher, you're automatically DQ'd from the event. Like you missed the cut before you even get to play the second round. So they had to call me. I was not aware of this rule. They called me that night after the first round and told me to not come back the next day.
That must have been a tough call.
That was probably the lowest I've ever felt in my whole life. Was what am I doing? We drove 14 hours to middle of nowhere, Louisiana. It was my mom and me. She was my caddy. And they told me I wasn't even good enough to come back for another day. And I was just sitting there thinking, like, something has got to change. And it's got to change fast because I'm not doing this every week. Wasn't even close.
What brought you back?
Honestly, learning to have fun. I was in a relationship I broke up with my boyfriend in like May-ish, but that really was a turning point where I realized I wasn't having fun, and I wasn't having fun off the course as much as I should have. We were having problems for a while, and nothing against him. He's a great guy. It just wasn't working out. And that was putting a lot of stress on me and my golf that I didn't really realize it was for a while. And when I decided, I think it's best if we just like take a break indefinitely, I felt a lot of freedom with that, of having just made the choice, because it was a really hard choice to make. Mm-hmm. And having made it, I felt a sense of like, it's done. There's no more stress about it. Like, I have a path. I can move on with my life. And after that, I felt a lot of freedom and a lot of pride that I could make hard decisions as well. I think it just kind of boosted my own self-esteem, not necessarily my golf self-esteem, that I could choose myself and know that I know what's right for me. And I know how to practice. I know how to play. And it just kind of gave me a lot of confidence in myself. Like, I kind of know what I'm doing. I know what I'm doing with my life. I can get my life together. Not that my life was falling apart by any means, but after that,
yeah, but you're taking agency. It's a big step, because breaking up with somebody, you have to let them down easy, or you just have to do it. But then you move on. And then how quickly did the love for golf come back, or was it a slow process?
I'd say it was a process, but it was a fairly quick process. I took it day by day, and I think it gave me a lot of freedom as well to just kind of be easier on myself, because I was like, okay, Sophia, you're going through like the hardest part of your life right here. Like, we were talking about getting married. Like, it was a very serious relationship. We had known each other for years, dated for a year and a half. So I became very like gentle with myself in the couple weeks afterwards, just because you have to be, cried a couple, cried every night and whatnot. So I told myself, if I just practice for a little bit, it's okay. I'm doing something. If I just do this, that's okay. I'm doing something. And I just slowly built it back to being like, well, I actually kind of want to practice. And then I would say within like a week of us breaking up, I shot my personal best on Piper, one of the courses at Lakewood National.
Yeah, what was it?
I shot 71 out there, which was my first time breaking par on Piper. And then
okay, for people that don't know how hard Piper is at Lakewood National, it is one of the hardest courses you
really
could ever
hard.
Play.
I play from the black tees, and for me, it's rated like 76, and that's if a man was to play from the black. So I'm sure for a woman, it's probably rated higher. But then not 3 days after the 71, I shot a bogey-free 69 out there. And it just like my scoring average dropped. I'm not kidding you, like 10 shots in 2 weeks. And I was just like, whoa, this is awesome. And then lo and behold, literally 2 weeks after, one of my good friends and coworkers was like, hey, one of my friends is coming back from college. You and your brother should play me and him in a match. And I was like, sure, sounds fun. Because I was trying to say yes to everything and put myself out there, because now I had the freedom to. And we played a match, and it was so much fun. And that birthed our whole friendship group that is now 12 people wide. And most of us are like really, really good players, and everyone loves golf in that group. And that day never would have happened if I hadn't chosen myself and taken action on something that I knew wasn't right or wasn't working. And I just kind of felt like I did this, I built this. And it gave me just the confidence just kept spiraling of like, if I can do this, well, I can make a putt. I can go out there and go low. I just did. And if I can do it in practice, I can do it in a match. If I can do it in a match, I can do it in a tournament. And it snowballed into being the best summer of golf ever. And it's kept going.
That's great to hear. Hey, let's rip through a couple as we get toward the end here. Sophia Warren is our guest here on Party Time, chasing on the West Florida Golf Tour. Big thanks to Party Drinks, the title sponsor, and also to the Real Estate Dream Team of Vince Visicaro and Gene Walsh, your top producing golf course and luxury property realtor team with fine properties in Southwest Florida. You can find Vince and Gene at suncoastdreams.com, or you can call them at 941-220-4000. All right, what's the best putt you ever made? What was it all about? How much money was riding on it?
I was in a playoff for a tournament called the PXG Women's Match Play Tournament. That was my second ever pro golf tournament. And it's a stroke play for 2 days, and then they cut it to the top 64, and it goes to a match play round robin style tournament. And I was tied for 64th. I had to go into a playoff with one other girl. I think it went to 4 extra holes. And on the 4th hole, I made a 30-footer for birdie, dead center. And I got to hug my mom, who was my caddy, knowing I made my first professional cut. And that was one of the best golf memories ever to this day. It was so cool. We had people lining the greens to make the birdie putt was so special. And to make my first pro cut with my mom on my bag was just amazing.
Is that the one where you blacked out?
Yeah, I hit the putt and I was like, oh my God, I hit it off the green, which I didn't, but I had that moment of panic, and then it was tracking and I was like, please go in. And it went in dead center. I just kind of I think I threw my hands up. I fist pumped. I'm sure I did something, and I was like, oh my God. And then I hugged the other girl. I was like, sorry. And I hugged my mom and was like, oh my God. It was so fun.
Have you ever been starstruck? Have you met one of your golfing heroes?
A couple of times, yep. I'll give you 2. One time, Tiger Woods was playing the Valspar. I think it was right before he won the Masters, so probably 2019, I think it was. I was watching him in the practice round, and he was walking probably 6 feet away from me down this cart path, and everyone else, all the fans had stampeded up to where his ball was. He had just teed off, and I was walking slower, so I would walk next to him. And I was like, Sophia, say something. I looked over and I was like, your swing looks really good, Tiger, which was the dumbest thing ever. That's all I could to say. And he looked over at me and he was like, thank you. And my mouth must have hit the ground. I was like, and then he looked back at me and laughed and kept walking. So he probably thought it was hilarious, how starstruck I was. Yeah. And then my claim to fame is I met Jordan Spieth at the Valspar in 2015 before he went on his historical tear, and he won all the majors. I came back for 2016, and so did he. And he looked at me and goes, nice to see you again. And I was like, this is it. Jordan Spieth and I are going to get married. He remembered me after his crazy year. He remembered seeing me. So that was pretty cool as well. I tell people that story all the time.
Yeah. Music is a big part of your practice routine. What's on the playlist?
Always Taylor Swift in some form. I got this mug for Christmas that says Swiftie on it, but Swift tea is in you're drinking tea. It's got all her albums on it. Major Swiftie. On the golf course, a lot of Morgan Wallen as well. I think country music is great to listen to because it keeps you in a good rhythm. At the gym, Nicki Minaj, Beyonce, something girl power oriented. But I'm a huge fan of all sorts of music. My brother and I go to concerts all the time. He likes more rock, hard rock, and I like more pop rock. So we find common ground in that.
How long are you going to chase it? Have you given yourself any deadlines?
Well, I think it's hard to give yourself a deadline. When I was in high school, I told myself I'd be on the LPGA tour by the time I was 18. When I first started playing, that was the goal. And then you quickly realize that 18 is very young and no one really does that. So then I thought 25 would be a good goal to get on the LPGA tour by. But now sitting here at 24, obviously that I want to be on the LPGA tour as quick as possible. And I think I have a really good chance coming up this next year with Q School. But I think as long as you feel like you're improving every year, there's no reason to give it up. If you feel like you're constantly getting closer and closer to your goal, I don't think it's right to say, oh, but 28 is too old to do it. I'm not getting married or having kids anytime soon. So I don't have really the family obligations that some girls might have. But I don't have a specific timeline. Obviously, the sooner the better. But if I've learned anything this year, especially, it's that what's meant to be for you is going to be for you. You can just work your hardest to have fun at what you're doing and to do something you're passionate about, and then everything else will fall into place.
I think that's a very mature answer. And why don't we leave it at that? I love your passion. I wish you all the best.
Thank you. Thank you for having me on.
Well, I'm cheering for you. And I know I'm not the only one that's doing it, because to put it all on the line and to chase the dream, I think for some of us, we just vicariously live through people like you, and we hope you make it, and just maybe our encouragement along the way can make a difference. At least I hope so. Let's keep in touch. You cool with that, Sophia?
For sure. Absolutely.
All right. Sophia Warren has been our guest. Big thanks to our title sponsors, Party Drinks. If you're looking for an alternative to the tired, old, hard seltzers, Party is for golfers, by golfers. And again, your real estate pros, Vince Fizzicaro and Gene Walsh from Find Properties. Check them out online at suncoastdreams.com or call them at 941-220-4000. For Sophia Warren, I'm Kevin Walsh. We'll see you again next time on Party Time, chasing it on the West Florida Golf Tour.
You've been listening to It's Party Time, My Golf Story, brought to you by Party Drinks. Classically designed golf drinks for golfers by golfers, and the golf real estate pros Gene Walsh and Vince Fizzicaro. For your Southwest Florida real estate needs, check them out at suncoastdreams.com or call 941-220-4000.
This is Vince Fizzicaro and Gene Walsh with the SuncoastDreams.com real estate team at Find Properties. We've helped hundreds of families find their dream homes in golf and resort communities in Lakewood Ranch, Bradenton, Sarasota, Parrish, Venice, and the surrounding areas.
Let us be your guides to finding your dream home here as well. Learn more at suncoastdreams.com or call us at 941-220-4000.